Hello everyone, welcome to the channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today I'm going to show you how to make 3 different holiday cocktails. As always, this channel is about how to make cocktails at home. So you're not going to see any big fancy blocks of ice here or, super professional bartending tricks. This is about how you can achieve home cocktails. For bar gear today, you are going to need a shaker. So up first we have the Irish coffee. Irish coffees are really delicious. They are great after dinner drink or a Christmas morning beverage perhaps. The main ingredients for this drink is Irish whiskey, maple syrup, coffee, and some heavy whipping cream. For glassware, it's nice if you have a clear glass for this drink because we float the cream on top of the coffee. It looks really scrumptious and elegant. So you can use a classic glass like this, or if you prefer, you can use something a little bit fancier if you wanted to do smaller portions. But today I am going to use this classic glass. The first thing we're going to do is actually warm up our glass. So I just have some hot water in the kettle here. While the glass is warming up, we are going to whip the cream. So the key for the cream in an Irish coffee is for it to just be aerated, and then we're going to float the cream on top of the coffee. We don't want it to be fully whipped. I mean, if you already had like a canister of whipped cream at home, one of those, what are those things? A can of whipped cream. You could use that instead. You'll still get the same, like a nice, delicious flavor off of it. But if you want to do it at home, I recommend using a protein shaker and just pouring your whipped cream in. And we're just gonna shake, whoa. Could have been a disaster. There we go, okay. Hot tip, make sure your lid is sealed before you start shaking the cream. And we're just gonna shake her up. So I'm going based off of sound, if that makes any sense. Once the cream starts slowing down in there, then I know it's getting close. It's just gonna move slowly. It's not fully whipped. So I'm going to ditch the hot water, and we are putting in 1 ounce of Irish whiskey. You could put in 1.5 ounces if you prefer it to taste a little bit stronger. For myself, it's pretty early in the day, so we're just gonna do 1 ounce. And we are doing 1/2 ounce of maple syrup. Not even like a kind of a quarter. Again, if you prefer it to be more sweet, you could add more. And if you don't have maple syrup, you could use brown sugar. You could use a couple of cubes of sugar. In goes the coffee. And the key here is we want to leave enough space to float the cream. So you just get a spoon and you put it right on top of the coffee, just sort of resting on top. And then whenever you pour the cream out, you use the spoon to kind of disperse it. I'm gonna add some grated nutmeg on top. Sláinte. Irish coffee is one of my favorite cocktails. I mean, I love coffee, so that's probably part of it. And I love cream. So it's a match made in heaven. The idea of floating the cream on top is so that when you take a sip, you're getting a little bit of the cream and the coffee in every single sip. If it's fully whipped cream, it kind of bunches, might hit you in the nose or float to the other side or something like that. When it's just slightly aerated and floated on top, every time you get a sip, it's like you're kind of filtering the coffee through the cream, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that sounds delicious or not, but that's kind of how I think it works. Okay, on to number 2. Okay, next up we are going a little rogue and throwing in the Alexander cocktail. There's a brandy version of this cocktail that is also quite popular at Christmas time. You would just swap out the gin for brandy, and for the creme de cacao, you would be looking for a dark creme de cacao instead of a white one. But anyways, the Alexander cocktail is gin, white creme de cacao, cream, and the curveball is an egg white. When you're picking your eggs, Just be smart about it, you know, get some fresh eggs, keeping them cold. We're gonna shake it up and it's all gonna be grand. If you don't want to use an egg, you could swap it out for aquafaba. And I've also seen this drink without egg white at all. So you could also just try it with these 3 ingredients instead. So we are doing 1.5 ounces of gin. 1 ounce of creme de cacao. 1 ounce of cream. An egg white cocktail, you need a dry shake. Once you've done that for about 10-20 seconds, fill her up with ice. Okay, so you can stop shaking once the shaker is so cold it's hurting your hands. That's how you know it's good. So I have actually chilled my cocktail glass down just by putting ice and water in it. Again, in fancy bars, they would have a freezer that is just meant for glassware. But because this is at home, this is a little home hack for you. Normally as well, you would double strain a cocktail like this, but I don't have a second strainer. So I'm just using 1 strain. And we are using nutmeg again as the garnish. Wow. That's delicious. You know, I think I actually prefer this over a Brandy Alexander. It has a nice richness and good mouthfeel with the cream and the egg white. And there's a subtle chocolate flavor. You're still getting a little bit of the botanicals from the gin, but it just feels way lighter and refreshing than a Brandy Alexander does, but it still manages to be decadent. It's really good. Our last drink is a little bit of a curveball. What happened was I tried making the TikTok viral winter margarita. It was really, really tart. And then the tequila just felt watered down. So anyways, I looked up another recipe for a cranberry themed cocktail because I thought it'd be fun to do a cranberry cocktail for Christmas. I have never made this before and we're gonna try it today together. And fingers crossed it's gonna work out. So the recipe calls for bourbon, cranberry juice, and they specified real cranberry juice from concentrate, not the like ocean spray sugary cranberry juice. They call for simple syrup, but I'm actually using honey instead, but it's like a honey water. So you take honey and then you just dilute it with some hot water and then make it really, which also makes it more liquid and easier to work with. Lemon juice, and then we were using cranberries as the garnish. So it calls for 2 ounces of bourbon, but I'm gonna modify it and just use 1.5 ounces. Because 2 ounces sounds like a lot. 1 ounce of cranberry juice. I'm gonna go a little bit less than 1 ounce just because I'm doing a little bit less booze. So they call for 1 ounce of simple syrup. So 1 ounce of honey, that seems like a lot. This recipe is questionable. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm going to add a little bit less because we can always add more after. That's kind of my perspective when it comes to cocktails or cooking or anything. So I'm just gonna do, that is like 3/4 of an ounce, 1/2 ounce. Taste before pour. Not bad. Is it too sour? Let's see. I think that's pretty good, actually. Oops. That's really pretty. You know what? I think I'm going to garnish it with an orange slice as well to make it look really festive. Should I? Yeah, let's do it. This is way better than that winter margarita. Like, infinitely better. Way more balanced, not nearly as tart. This is delicious. One thing I'd say too is if you don't have a cocktail shaker, you could just stir this down to dilute the drink instead. Take a decent amount of stirring, but what you would do would be like an old-fashioned method. So you just put all the ingredients together, fill it up with ice, and then stir for at least 30 seconds. Taste it. If you need to dilute it a little bit more, then just keep stirring. I don't think this has to be restricted to you having a cocktail shaker at home. The Irish coffee's missing because that got drank. I hope you enjoyed these holiday cocktails. Let me know in the comments if you end up making any of these, and also let me know if you have any other recommendations or what your favorite Christmas cocktail to make at home is. If you want to see more videos on how to make cocktails at home, check out this one here next, and happy holidays.